All right, I'm excited to be here in this show here with you all, and I want to begin. And like I do everything, or at least I try. I want to begin by creating ceremonial space for us here, because we're going to be looking at business in a little bit different way than most people do. You probably already do that, but we're going to bring so much intentionality and such commitment to doing things differently in the world. So let's begin. And I'll begin with a little permissions. We ask permissions of the indigenous rightful stewards of the very ground we each sit in. We ask permissions of the directions, the east, south, west, north, above us, below us, and within us. And we ask primal source, benevolent spirit, sacred soul, to guide us, to be with us, and that may each and every one of us receive exactly what we need to evolve commerce, to evolve our own sense of business, and to evolve our own sense of feeling good in this world. So that is my prayer for you. And if you would, in the comments, just, share what your prayers are. Let's put your prayers into the collective field, as we're like all, you know how as Christ says, when you gather, you gather with one more, you amplify the energy. Not exact words. I'm not a Bible scholar, but that kind of energy. Okay. So, I love what you're all saying so far. All right, so sacred commerce. And please let me know that you can see my screens okay, my slides rather. Okay, so sacred commerce. This is an ethos to feel good, be wealthy, and give back. My name is Asha D. Ramakrishna. I am originally from the lands of Venezuela and India. I am a trained molecular biologist, mystic, and I call myself a business witch. This is the messiest slide you're going to see, so don't get scared. But basically, I just want to show you my life in a nutshell. And you'll see that in 2005, human design came into my life when my kids were really little. And here they are now. And today, this journey of spirituality and science and business is, it's like monkey bars, right? It's not a linear path. And you probably have that experience also in your own life, in your own business. And then today, kind of culminating with the Dharma School, which is a program that we have. Okay, so why am I talking about business? What's my street credit? So I have helped, I've helped one company sell on Shark Tank. I've helped people leave jobs that they hated. I've helped launch 2 7-figure businesses. I've helped people double their revenues. And we're not talking about like someone going from 20,000 to 40,000. We're talking like bigger revenues. And then also tripling the sizes of business and setting them up to sell them. So I've had multiple experience in business also. Okay, so it's really, really important that we create a little bit of space to thank the teachers who have come before us. This material that I'm going to present to you doesn't exist in a void. It exists because all these beautiful people have given me opportunity to learn with them and from them, including our young people, including our very indigenous stewards of the lands we each sit upon. There is medicine on the very ground we each sit in. And so I think you can all feel like if you've been through 2020 and you're into 2021, you can obviously feel that things are changing in business. And there are a multiple of mythologies that support this. Being the Mayan calendar, the solar plexus mutation. If you're a human design person, you know exactly what we're talking about. Also the Kali Yuga into Satya Yuga, integral theory, and I was a little fatalistic in the day that I put this, and I put decline of US empire, but we're just going to say that it peaked at a certain time and it's now trying to redefine itself. So I'm not going to go over this too much, but you can sort of see on my slides as I'm moving what we're evolving into. I want to stop here for just a second because I really feel that this is going to help where we're going to end up. And let me tell you where we're going to end up. First, I want to share with you this framework of sacred commerce. And I'm going to need you to kind of stay with me the whole time, because at the end, you're going to be able to put together, at least begin the process of creating your own framework. And I'm going to sort of tell you why this is important, right? Creating your own framework is important because it really allows you to be able to speak your medicine in marketing. Speak your medicine, 2-minute conversation that you have with someone. If you are like me and like many other light workers, spirit workers, shadow workers, you're probably somebody who has a lot of training and a lot of different things. And when someone says, what do you do? It's like, you're like, like, it's kind of hard to know, where do I go from here? How do I tell them what I do in a few words? And although we cannot encapsulate your medicine into a, fine little elevator speech, we can give it a space where it gets to live. And when we do that, it just makes it easier for you to enroll people into what you have going on, right? If you have a program, if you're trying to sell coaching, if you are, have products that you're creating and you want to sell, you want to be able to have people enroll into that energy, because not everyone is as esoteric as you and I may be, right? Like maybe you and I feel like more like, oh, I just know this is the right thing. Like, do you ever feel that? Like you just know something's the right thing. Your brain is not even in agreement with it, but you just know that this is the right thing. Well, not everyone's there. And so for not everyone who's not there, for the people who are not there, we want to make sure that they know how what we create so that they can say yay or nay, right? It's in alignment or it's not in alignment. So let's talk about integral theory or spiral dynamics, as it's also, there's iterations of this. But basically, as a human and also as communities, we go through evolution, personal and collective, right? And so that evolution can go from being survivalistic. Maybe you can even think in your own life when you've been survival based. We move into magic based and more mystical, where maybe when you first learn about law of attraction and you start tapping into the magic, right? But then when the development is that when you go from just magical thinking, you then think about, well, what about me? How do I fit in all of this? And that can be more egocentric. It's a kind of harsh word, but it's kind of like a 2-year-old, right? When a 2-year-old's like, I've discovered that I'm a separate person than my parents. And they're like, me, and they want it all for themselves, even if they're like a lovely soul, right? And then we move to blue, which blue is about authoritarian, dogmatic. It's about right and wrong. It's very binary. You can think of institutions such as religion, and such as even the police force. It's very these are the rules and here's right and wrong, and we don't see gray. And you can see where I think that a lot of us, anyway, a lot of people that I'm around move away from that blue mentality into, especially with religion, they'll move away from religiosity and more into spirituality. That's where you start seeing that. Then in orange, you start thinking about achieving, about science, about logic. And we can think of our world as very orange centric, right? There's Wall Street and there's science and that's it. And there's no two ways about it. And then there's those of us who've moved into green, which green is about everyone voices matters, the earth matters, all humans matter. What else? We start thinking about like, wow, that place of achieving is not working out for me anymore. And I'm all about like, how can I be happy? And how, like, I don't want to make tons of money, but I want to, be okay. And those are kind of like some of the transitions that I think a lot of humans go through. And what you want to also remember is that as we are developing from one level to another, we kind of reject the previous level, right? It's like kind of like you have a teenager and they're developing into their own selves. And part of their job is to reject what you do as a parent. And it's the same thing in adults. We also experience that. So you can start thinking about how so many of us who have gone into spirituality, 10 plus years in, we have this sort of discord with orange, like making money, being rich, like, we have like some hangups around that. and it's normal. But also what happens is that when you are feeling as though the spirituality bubble, the spirituality space is full, like you're full with information, you've read all the books, you've done all the training, you're ready to like deliver your medicine, you like, where do you go from there, right? Like, where do you go from there? And actually where you go is to tier 2, which tier 2 is about the whole. It's about integrating all these components. And we won't talk about tier 3, but basically in tier 2, you're integrating everything. So being, having some ground rules becomes important, not so that they're so rigid. Having profitability is important. Taking care of the earth becomes important. And then taking care of all the humans also becomes important. I just wanted to take some time there because it's important for you to know where you are and where you're headed. And there's going to be some tools here that are going to allow you to step into this tier 2. And this is a lot of like the people that come to me, the people that are going to be enrolling in Dharma school. They're really thinking, how do I take all these parts and really bring them into more integral part and holistic? Okay, so this is where I remember I said that I was a little fatalistic when I was talking about the US empire. It really peaked in 1950, and now we are trying to get back to that level of prosperity. And it's probably why you see a lot of people referencing the good old, the good times in the US. But what they aren't necessarily considering is that we evolve. Like, we've evolved as a nation, and maybe you're in another country, but you also can see where as international economies, we evolve, we do things differently. Technology has changed us. And so what seemed to be the prime and what seemed to be the ideal is just no longer going to work. Okay, so it's important to talk about the tenderness of a new world economy. It's important to remind ourselves that as we are, especially those of us who are here in community together, as we are connecting to a different way of being and a different way of doing business, there's a tenderness with that. And there's also risks and there's also courage, right? And so one of the things that I always tell people that are, the mystics, is to remind themselves to protect themselves. And I don't mean this like you have to be afraid of anything, but it's about protecting this ideal, this way of this visioning that you have for what the world can be like. And it's important that we remember to share this with people who are going to get it until it's really formulated, until we have that clarity. I hope that makes sense. And just as, you know, I just sort of this is like more personal slide for me, because as I've looked at my own framework, what I've understood is that birthing your framework, as I'm going to show you at the end how to do that, is an emergent process. And so it's not about getting it perfectly. It's not about doing it perfectly, but it's about beginning to kind of put it down on paper, what it is that you're here to do. Okay, now this slide and this moment can change you forever as a business owner. Okay, and here's why. I think, and maybe some people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but I think that we have a soul. Our business has a soul, and we operate as the entrepreneur, as the person, both in service to the human that we are, and also in service to the business. And it's really key that we begin to separate the two. Because what can happen when we feel like the business is me and I'm the business is that we can begin to create kind of codependent relationships with our own business, right? And this is where it can take us to burnout. It can take us to sometimes doing things that we aren't capable of doing, but the business needs us to. And having this kind of separation allows us to understand that, okay, we as a person, and this isn't to limit ourselves by any means, like we are, you know, we are as limited as we want to be in a lot of ways, you know, not, and also remembering the context of our own identities, right? That's not necessarily true for everybody, but also I'm here to encourage and empower each and every one of us, no matter what we've gone through in life, to seek this ideal of we can sort of figure things out. We can always find a workaround. We can always find a solution. I think that's the most empowering way to live. And so anyway, this separation allows you to also like be honest, you know, like sometimes the business is going to need things that we can't service the business, and we may not have the budget to actualize that need that the business has, but at least understanding that, oh, okay, you have that need. I can't fulfill that need right now because I'm feeding 4 children and I'm, you know, doing whatever it is I'm doing. I can't fulfill that need, but I'm going to put that as, you know, to see like what level of priority is this? And this is something that we need, right? And so again, I think creating space in your life to make this separation will save you from the burnout, will save you from doing things that aren't in alignment, and or pushing yourself when you need to, but knowing that, okay, this is what I need to do for the business. There's a boundary and I'm going to keep going. So in business, feeling good is important and it's key. And you can see prior to 2020 how taking care of ourselves was like kind of becoming this like monthly quest, weekly quest. We barely have space to be. And obviously the most affected by this are the people that are working, you know, lower than minimum wage jobs or minimum wage jobs. And, you know, the communities that are more marginalized are really the ones affected by this deficit in feeling good. And feeling good, being able to tap into our imagination, being able to, you know, take an afternoon and draw and paint is our birthright. Feeling good is our birthright. So some examples of how you can bring feeling good into the business. Like this isn't, you know, just to say that I'm not necessarily like one of those people that it's like, oh, you know, how can you make money while you're sleeping in this very extractive way and have other people doing all the work for you. I think there's ways to make money while you're sleeping, yes. And I think there's a way to do it without extracting from other people too, you know, such as if you're outsourcing to another country, like paying people what they deserve to be paid is important. But feeling good in life and business, what I've tapped into, and maybe you have other ideas, and feel free to like share them in the comments, like what are other ways in which a business can serve people in feeling good, or you yourself experience what feels good. The things that I've sort of tapped into are creativity, our beauty, space, and even sensuality. These things that we haven't necessarily valued in business. So it's like one of those questions in feeling good. If you're trying to like think about, well, how do I know what feels good to me, and how do I know how my business serves in this area of helping other people feel good? Bringing it back to ourselves is remembering, like, okay, if money, support, all the things, how we're watching other people do marketing or sales, if all those things were not there, if we kind of like eliminate all the distractions, what would feel good in your business? Here are mine. Through the years, I've just thought this is really important. Like, it has to feel good, because that really makes it sustainable. And we'll talk a little bit about how using your human design can also help you tap into what feels good. And so, here's blank space for you. I want to invite you to maybe take some time this weekend to journal, like what would feel good for you in business, and how does your business help other people in feeling good? Like I said before, feeling good is our birthright. And as Adrienne Marie Brown says, becoming a pleasure activist, like what would life look like if we were a pleasure activist, especially for those of us who are not the mainstream identities. So again, if you want to sort of keep tangible in your journaling, what are you an activist of? What is the area that you help people, your business helps people in? And just take some time to like jot these down, and then maybe this weekend or later today, kind of hone in on which one is it. And maybe you come up with something else. Okay, being wealthy. This is probably why you're here. Okay, so we all have seen, and we all know that there are disparities in our economy. We can tap into how in our world, especially in the US economy, there is the consciousness. Remember the consciousness levels of the integral theory? We are on orange, on steroids, right? Like people are very much about like money, 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 money. And I think like after what we've been through, that way of thinking has shifted for many people, right? For many, not everyone, I get that. But for many of us, we're starting to look at, yes, being an investor rather than a consumer is important. But also I want to take care of this earth. I want to take care of, the indigenous people who their lands have been taken from them. I want to think about how do I make my, perfect example, that thing that I said of like hiring assistance from other countries. Like typically people take advantage of that. And many of us are thinking like, well, I don't want to do that. I actually want to pay them a wage that they can live abundantly in their own countries. And so you and I are shifting this consciousness away from that kind of old way of doing things. And many of us, I'll just go back to that, important to say, many of us who are heart-centered are not making a lot of money, because we are forgetting that there's another level of achieving this, consciousness, which is about integrating the whole. Remember, if we're like in green, and we used to be that person that just wanted to make a ton of money, or we were just like born in green, and we see everyone who like is so materialistic, the way to go where we go to the other extreme and we say, I don't need any money. Maybe it works for you. And if it works for you, like, awesome, send me an email and tell me how. But what I've seen is that for many of us, we're having to balance all of this. And really, we think we have to balance all of this, but it's really that we're moving to a different place, away from sufficiency, in my opinion, and really moving to a place of being provision to overflow. Because what would happen if every single human, all of us, especially those of us here in this community, what if we were provision to overflow? What would happen? What would we do? What would be the choices that we would make? What would be the investments that we would be making? And so what I have seen is that some of the ways in which we can kind of start tapping into how do I create this provision to overflow vision, is to look at the map of our soul and also consider our ethics. And I'll go over that. So your charts, I look at astrology and also human design, have a huge, a huge curriculum for each of us to explore on what we're here to do. It's such a communication, such a relationship between soul and self. And then I think, in looking at our ethics and our value, we want to consider like making the thing sustainable, right? That it has to be friendly to the earth. It has to be friendly to ourselves as sentient beings on this earth. And then finally, we want to also make it equitable. We want to be thinking about the humans, that not just our clients, but the people that work with us. And then the ripple effect of those who are impacted by the work we do. And also considering, well, what people don't have access to the work I do. And I know that that's a loaded question, because we talk about this in the Dharma school a ton, right? Those of you who have big hearts want to make all your services super cheap so that everyone can make it accessible. But what can happen on the other end is that you're not taking care of yourself. You're not really operating from a place of being provision to overflow. And there's ways, creative ways, ethical ways to make things accessible to those who can't afford it. And, I'd be happy to talk about that too, because that's something I'm passionate about. And I've been practicing that since the beginning of my career. And it's also something that's been extended to me as well, right? Other people have given me opportunities for their programs. And so it's absolutely one of those, like the gift that keeps on giving. And I hope you have that same experience too. And so that's how all of those work together. And just want you to like take a moment and just pause and really contemplate which one of these have you not been paying attention to? And it's okay, it's okay. We're here to grow and evolve. And it also doesn't have to be something that you do overnight, like, oof, okay, I heard this thing. I heard this lady, Asha Ramakrishna, and she really made me think about how I can make my work more sustainable or more equitable. And I'm going to do it. And I need to like revamp everything. And I love revamps, by the way. And also we can take it in steps too. So remember that. Have compassion with yourself in your own process. Okay. So being wealthy is also our birthright when we align energetically with our provisions. So the map of our soul, AKA our charts, have, again, like I said earlier, just have so much juiciness and so much richness in discovering what we're here to do. We talk often about in human design how we have the whole chart, and this is true. But when you have the whole pie and all you really want is just all you really need and all you really can handle, and all your digestive system can only handle just one slice, our chart gives us that opportunity to tap into that flavor of who we are that's unique and is precious and involves both gifts, sensitivity, and also things for us to work on, but also things for us to teach others about, right? And to me, it feels like, I've been with human design for a long time, and I'm so grateful to the system. And when I share someone's chart to them. And last summer, I was doing a lot of charts for 18-year-olds, my daughter's friends. And what I was seeing in them was that, wow, they were beginning to trust themselves. Like I was kind of like giving them their own map, and they were able to then begin to tap into trusting themselves. And what would happen, right, if every single person had the ability to live this way? I think you and I, if you're into human design like I am, you know that this can be so rich in the lives of young people, especially, right? Because they're just starting out. You and I, maybe we have to like decondition tons of things. Young people, they're just like, oh, okay, all right, I create boundaries, that's cool, right? They can learn a lot faster, but we're getting there. And yes, deconditioning and decolonizing, understanding the context of the world we live in. One of the things that you can't see in an astrology chart or a human design chart is the context of the human, is the identity of the human, the cultural background that this person has been in, right? And what they've been conditioned in. And there's a huge topic right now of looking at how the model of colonization, including the model of our economy, is very much modeled in the model of the colonizer. It's about like, how do we get as much as possible, extract from the land, extract from the people, and we're all saying like, no, we can't do things this way. So there's a ton of deconditioning that we're having to do as individuals, as communities, as businesses also. And it's important to say that these things don't always happen overnight. Again, I've been with human design for such a long time, and it's taken me, maybe I'm a late bloomer, but it's taken me a really long time to practice myself through my chart, through the lens of my chart, practice being myself from moment to moment. And, this is something that, Karen Curry Parker talks a lot about too, is that living our design is a moment to moment decision. It's a moment to moment experience. And we can't forget that, especially when we're thinking about building business. Okay, so this map of the soul. How I've sort of synthesized all of this is I really feel that the map of the soul is, we can sort of see it in 3 different places, right? The Dharma call. Dharma is a Sanskrit word that means one's purpose, one's duty, one's vocation, like what you're here to be, like who you're here to like exude out in the world. And there is a link to access the different Dharma types. Cindy, if you're able to put that link in the comments, in the chat, it's ashaisnow.com /Dharma, DHARMA. You'll be able to download and see what Dharma type really speaks to you. And I've just found this piece to be that guiding light that kind of informs everything we do in life. In this, it's subtle, but also allows a lot of clarity. The other piece is the soul. There are many markers in your astrology chart that allow you to feel, that allow you to like be super clear what you're here to heal and how you're here to grow. And then the brilliance of your design. I find human design to be just so practical in everyday decisions. I mean, this is what I love astrology. I mean, to me, it's like a never-ending encyclopedia. Like it's always like evolving and growing and learning new things. And the thing that and human design is similar, but what I like about it is how practical it is. So that Dharmic call is that thing that you feel it, like you feel it in your bones. And so again, I want to invite you to download that Dharma workbook. It'll help you to like give you that essence of what am I here to do? What am I here to be? What am I here to be? And then we're not going to go over the astrology markers, but you may want to just take a screenshot or a photo of the slide, and go to your astrology chart, your Western astrology chart, tropical astrology chart, and just pull and see where all these markers live, like where do all these placements are, and what you can learn from the messages that they bring you. And then trusting your strategy. Like, I know it sounds like everyone says that, we hear it all the time, but I mean, what can I say? Like, we don't trust our strategy all the time. We allow sometimes, like, the ideas that we have, or maybe some of us are a little stubborn if we're defined in the head and ajna, or we have been conditioned by our parents or our culture to not trust ourselves. And here's like my implicit and explicit invitation to trust your strategy. Like, even take 30 days and say, all right, I'm not going to do things the way I usually do them. I'm going to do it according to my strategy. And I'm going to really just trust it, even if it feels like I'm like walking into the void of the unknown and I've never done this. Give yourself 30 days, like you would do anything. You can do it for 30 days. You can do it for 30 days, right? Say yes. Say yes in the comments. Say yes in the comments, or say, I'm not sure, Asha. I'm not sure if I can. I need some help, and that's okay too. We all need help. And then the other piece here is caring for our unique centers. As much as we want to trust ourselves, we also want to care for those tender places within us, those places that open us up to be more sensitive, open us up to be receive information from others, right? It's really important that we pay attention to that, because there's so much wisdom in those places, but we also got to be gentle with ourselves. I can't stress that enough, especially in business. Okay, I'm gonna go quick on this piece, because probably a lot of you already know what your type and strategy is. But when I come to your type, I want to invite you to just close your eyes for a second and just receive the activation of the words that I'm going to share with you. If you are a manifester, you are here to activate others. You are powerful beyond what you can possibly recognize. Some have distracted you from believing this, but it is time that you own this. It is time that you journal. It is time that you follow your intuition. It is time that you let your dreams be prophetic and be answers to your prayer. And it's time that you allow yourself to follow your flow and inform others that what you're doing. If you are a generator, you are here to become a master of your craft. When you are on this journey, you will hit some plateaus. In those plateaus, you will feel as though you're lost, God forgot about you, the universe forgot what you were saying and what you were thinking and what your New Year's resolutions and intentions were. But the truth is that the universe has heard you, and it's time to trust that the next thing will show itself in order for you to go to the next level. But before you follow the signs, make sure that you ask your sacral, And if you have a defined solar plexus, follow the wave of your emotions. Allow yourself that time and space to make a decision of a yes or a no. And it's okay if it takes you longer to decide things than others. You're here to play the long game. So when you see the thing and you respond with that sacral yes or that sacral no, the next level of mastery will be available for you. If you are a manifesting generator, you may be frustrated. You may be so mad that the thing's not here yet. And why is the universe not giving me all the things that we already talked about? And in that frustration, make sure that you exert your energy by going for a walk, by maybe talking it out, by yoga, by boxing, whatever, and let yourself dream. Let yourself have a notebook where you have all your dreams, all your ideas. And then when that thing comes back, then instead of following the sign, just ask your sacral, is it a yes? Is it a no? And again, if you have that solar plexus defined, let yourself have that wave and inform others that you are moving forward, even if they understand, even if they don't understand you. You are here because there are some things that you are here to up level in yourself and in others. Beautiful projectors. You are the lighthouses. Your wisdom is imperative to the evolution of our collective consciousness in business. And it is key and important that you surround yourself with people who are going to honor and recognize your wisdom, and who are then going to invite you to the next thing, and really feel into whether that invitation, like not all invitations are perfect, are correct for you. So, and maybe you feel like, well, they don't come that often. But the thing is that when you follow an invitation that is correct for you, it'll feel effortless. It'll feel like the whole universe and all the people around you are conspiring to make it so. So even though it's frustrating, and even though it can make us feel a little bit upset with life and upset with people, and why don't they get it? There's a correctness of an invitation, so trust that. And then our unicorn reflectors, you are here to be those, the compass of humanity. If you're not doing well, that community is probably not doing well. And so what I would suggest is that you lovingly take yourself out of that community and plop yourself in an environment, in a home, in a job, in a business, in a state, in a country that really allows you to thrive. And know that you're here to thrive through the lunar cycles, through the transits. Experience the transits, get to know the transits, get to know what's happening and how it's affecting you. And it's okay for you also, as much as you're an adventurer, to also seek consistency. Okay, now the last piece before we talk about framework. I'm gonna check, am I doing okay with time? Okay, we're gonna move fast. Give back is about that essence of my cup runneth over. One of the things that has revolutionized business for me is having a ceremonial relationship with business. And this isn't just about giving money to charity. This is actually about co-inspiring and co-creating with the earth and the universe in a ceremonial way. And so giving back is also our birthright. Okay, now let's talk about framework. Some things here, you can't see them so well, but I'm going to read them to you. So creating a framework allows you to have something reliable, allows you to speak to your medicine in a succinct way, and allows you to be able to explain the big thing that you do. I put in that it's a turn on. It has to be a turn on. Your own framework has to turn you on. It has to make you feel good, right? And feeling good, like it has to make you want to do and continue the thing. It has to be profitable. There's a way, I should say this. If you want it to be profitable, creating a framework allows you to create a map that makes sense so that it's profitable. It can also help you in creating something that's sustainable, because if something is outside of your framework, then it may not be the thing that you're really here to play with. It may be a hobby, right? And it's okay to have hobbies, but it may not really fit into the framework, into the work that you do. And then also allows you a space to be very clear about when you're going to be in overflow, or how to be in overflow. Okay, so in building a framework, what you want to do is you want to use this to discover the theme of the thing that you do. There's a theme. Even if it feels like, Asha, I do like 10 different things and people come to me for all kinds of things, I can't put it into one essence. I promise you that if you do this process, you will be able to extract what that theme is. And if you're feeling lost, or you're feeling like you don't know where to begin, ask past clients what they actually got. And I know that people are going to come back to you with these lofty things that it's going to be really hard to nail, but ask them specific questions of like, when they received that sense of peace from the work they did with you, what were they then able to do? I think it's really, really important that we try to quantify, qualify, and quantify what it is that we do. Otherwise, people just like, it's hard for other people to enroll, right? Like I always joke, it's like when people say to me, like, I feel such a sense of peace and trusting myself and or a sense of community. And I'm like, okay, we need more questions answered, because it's hard for me to sell peace. I hate to be crass, but people want something tangible. I know we all want peace and it's a beautiful thing, but will someone give you cash so that they can feel peace? Maybe, maybe not. How much cash, right? And then outlining in this framework, you're going to want to put your genius. And your genius is a factor of your experience. It's also a factor of, it's not about the modalities necessarily. It's about the experience that you have in helping others. And yeah, you can also pull from your incarnation cross, right? The earth and the sun and earth, conscious and unconscious, the combination of all those four is your incarnation cross. And that has such juiciness to what your genius is too. I will also say, I didn't say that here, but also with your genius, adding that Dharma type will also kind of enroll people to the energy. And then when you put this framework together, it helps you clarify the results that people receive from working with you. Okay, so the ideal framework will have all these pieces, and they don't have to have all of them to start with. This is the ideal, right? The ideal is that it would have your Dharma call. So make sure that you download that, that Dharma workbook. It will have those markers in your astrology, especially the sun and the MC and maybe the North Node. And if you don't know, if you don't know those super intimately, get to know them intimately. The ideal framework will also work with your human design type, right? And incorporate human design in the way that you do things. Your genius and your experience. And then bonus, if you really want to help us all evolve the economy and help us all evolve commerce, please include the elements of what feels good, of what builds wealth in your framework, and then what is able, and how your framework, how your work and your business is able to give back. So when you field your framework, I'm telling you this, when it's hard to nail what you do, it's frustrating, and it makes us feel like we don't have confidence to share or to talk about the thing that we do. But when we build this and we have it and it's visual, we then have a way of feeling confident about it, of knowing exactly the kind of results that we can bring people. And it keeps us focused, because many of us want to know all kinds of things, and especially manifesting generators. We want to do all kinds of things, right? But we also need it, and I'm not about like, if you're a manifesting generator, keep doing all kinds of things that you love doing, but that that framework is going to keep the work focused, because remember, there's you, there's a business, and then there's you as the entrepreneur. And there's a difference between the three. And then if this interests you, when you build something to overflow, you can make it scalable, because it doesn't, the energy of the thing doesn't have to run through you. It's actually its own entity. And it's healthy. It's a healthy way of creating something, and it allows you to be able to duplicate, replicate, and scale what it is that you do. So if you're wanting to build this and you want to talk about theme, so we're kind of breaking it down a little bit more. Theme, think about Dharma type. Look at that Dharma worksheet that you're going to be able to download. Look at the prior things that you have done, right? Like, what are those things that you've done before that help you to help people? And then what are the experiences that you have from the past? And all of those things will inform that theme. You have the theme, and then you want to have 3 basic sub themes, if you want to call them that. And I'll give you a visual in just a second. In those sub themes, so let's say your theme is, I want to help mothers find balance in parenting and growing their business, just as an example. Okay, what would be 3 sub themes for that? Well, maybe it's about like clarifying the goals at home, clarifying the goals in business, and clarifying the impact of the financial impact in the world, something like that. So you want to have 3 things, right? And so in these 3 things, you want to identify, I didn't finish that sentence. You want to identify the results that you give people. You want to outline your intellectual property, basically like the stuff you came up with, how you merge things, as long as you have, permission to merge certain things. Your own, the thing that you've developed, and how you're going to implement these things, like how you're going to implement and help them implement those results. And then this also helps for branding and values. Like we have in our, in our Dharma school, we have somebody who's a real estate person. She's like, well, I don't have a service. It's okay. This framework can help with branding, because it really identifies what are our values, like what's our personality, and if our branding's like all over the place, it's also hard for people to like connect with like who we are and what we do, the energy, the essence, And then under those 3 sub things, and don't get overwhelmed, that's pretty easy. Now you're gonna see it visually in a second. Under those 3 sub things, you want to have 3 in each, so 9 action steps of how you get them to actualizing that something. So in the mothering balance, parenting, balancing of parenting and business, okay, for what are the goals of the business? These are the 3 things you need to be doing to get your goals and keep them in check, and making money in your business. In the goals of the family, you need to have a goal, a yearly goal, a monthly goal, a weekly goal. I don't know, I'm making this stuff up. You get where I'm going. And these are things that you want to put there, because that way they're repeatable and they're easy to describe. And so this is how it would look like. I probably should have showed you this before. You're going to put your theme as the main thing, 3 subgroups, and then the 3 action steps for each of them. And so, you can absolutely screenshot this and spend some time in your journaling to pull this. It'll really, really help. So I want to give you an example. So in Dharma school, so I've created a few frameworks, and I've helped people for over a decade. I didn't used to call it framework necessarily, but I've helped people kind of pull together their medicine and essentially building a framework. So I'm going to give you one example. This is the Dharma school, and the Dharma school essentially merges the spiritual with the business. And as you saw, as I showed it to you, so I am representing to you what happens when you do a framework. One of my sub themes is feel good. Next one is be wealthy, give back. Do you recall those? I think so. And in the feel good, the actions is we're going to go through knowing yourself, having pleasure, and balancing your business. In being wealthy, we're going to align to soul, strategize with human design, and build a framework. Spelling's not my expertise. In giving back, we're going to understand consciousness levels because that's important for your own evolution and those who you impact. Incorporate equitable practice and bring ceremony into business. So then what's next for you is to create your framework. And here is the framework. And so when we do that work, we're able to pull all those elements, which can be very wordy, but get to the point so that somebody can really recognize themselves in the thing that we offer. And so that's what I had for you. If you want to connect with me more, I'm probably a little bit more on Instagram at Asha Is Now. That's the link for the Dharma workbook. On Facebook, it's just my name. And then I do have a podcast called Women on Purpose. So any questions?
There haven't been questions. Thank you for your time and energy. Person on Facebook challenge their spouse to the 30-day idea when you were sharing the 30-day idea.
Oh, yeah, to just practice it. Just practice it.
Just practice it.
Yeah. Somebody says, I haven't pulled the chart for a reflector. 70% of my friends are manifesting generators, and she's a projector. Yeah, I happen to have raised a reflector, and actually her name is Dharma. So this is where, it's sort of interesting. It's like this meta thing of a framework. It doesn't live on its own, it's so many aspects of our lives that, not just our own lives, but of life itself. And when you build a framework that is actually in resonance with the earth, it's actually in resonance with the cosmos, you'll see it, you'll see whispers of it all throughout your life too.
So, we had some questions come in on Facebook.
Okay.
What is your strategy type, Asha?
Oh, thanks for asking. So I am a 4-1. I should have said, I sometimes have that in my slides, but I'm a 4-1 manifesting generator.
Trisha asks, I'm curious where the Mayan calendar fits in.
Oh, so there was I don't study the Mayan calendar by any means, but somebody had said that actually some people speculate that that 2020 was the beginning, a new beginning for the Mayan calendar, that we go back to zero.
Debbie asks on Facebook, do you have example of biz words for projector?
Of what word?
Business words, or kind of the words that you to attract the correct invitations consistently. I mean,
yeah.
How about a projector words for frameworks?
Specifically for frameworks. I mean, I think for marketing, it's always that energy of invitation, right? Creating your thing as an invitation, drawing people in, and if people are already following you and they've subscribed to you, basically they've recognized you as someone that they want to listen to, that you have free form, right, to do and say what you will, right? In terms of the framework, and it is an ever emerging thing, creating your own framework. I will say that, it's annoying, I know, but it's part of the magic of playing with life and business, right? Is that we emerge things, we grow things up, we up level. But if I'm like, what's really coming through in this moment to share with our projector friends and also our reflector friends is to be mindful and discerning of who they are around, because the commute, or anyone who has a fourth line, right, profile, is that our communities, the people who we are around, informs much of how ready people actually are for what we have. Does that make sense?
From another fourth line? Sure.
It was, for me, it was this shift, because, you know, as a fourth line, when you think of like, okay, my network is the place where I'm going to receive opportunities. Well, who's in my network? Do I like my network? Have I graduated from my network? Is it time for me to, you know, like, it doesn't mean like let go of the people you love and adore and have been with you for decades, but it does mean to start considering, where do we want the opportunities to be coming from? And the same thing goes with projectors, right? If you are around people who don't see your value, don't see your wisdom, are they the right people?
The projector came from Debbie on Facebook, and she said, "This is amazing. I'm a fifth line projector. Thank you."
Yeah.
And Jennifer Howard said, "I've never met another 4-1. It's a 4-1 manifesting generator." We're at the top of the hour. No thoughts? I mean, are we supposed to make sure we talk to our business, or?
Yeah, so good. They're in that ceremonial process, right? In that separating of ourselves from our business. In some ways, it is about talking to our business. It is about understanding that this is me. Here's you as a business, and here's me operating as the entrepreneur in the business. And understanding what I need as an individual and understanding what the business needs are really two different conversations. And many of us have merged these conversations to be one and have hit burnout. So yeah, let's talk to our business. Let's meditate with our business. Let's create ceremony around our business. And by that, it can be as simple as lighting incense and making an offering to the earth, you know, that the animals in your area can eat, or something like that. And just making that notion, that motion of devotion to the vocation.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I hope that everybody does go and download that workbook. That was work that really like got me away from being confused to understanding the central theme of who I'm here to be. So thank you all. And I just want to close with my bell. Gratitudes. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the Indigenous stewards of the lands we each sit upon. Thank you to Cindy, thank you to Karen, and thank you to the entire team thank you to the entire team who's brought me here today. Thank you to all of you who have been listening. We thank the businesses that you are nurturing and that you are helping others help themselves, and the impact that you're creating. We thank the directions, the north, east, south, west, above, below, within. Thank you, Primal Source. Thank you, thank you, thank you.